If you could start a business, vote, access healthcare records, pay taxes, and interact with government entirely online, what would that mean for the society? Welcome to Future State, the podcast where technology, law, leadership, and society meet. I'm Emmanuel, and in each episode, we explore forces shaping the future and what leaders need to understand to navigate them successfully. Today, we are shifting our attention from organizations to nations. And the reason for this is because around the world, some countries are transforming themselves through technology faster than others. They are redesigning their public services, modernizing government, and reimagining how citizens interact with the state. So the question is, what separates digital nation from everyone else? If you could start a business, vote, access healthcare records, pay taxes, and interact with government entirely online, what would that mean for the society? I'm asking this question because this is already happening. An example of this includes digital identity system, online public service, electronic health records, automated government processes, even AI-enabled public service. One of the major issues in Nigeria election is biometric voting. But as all these are progressing, the citizens increasingly expect services to be available online. In many countries, they believe that their government is not doing enough, and government is facing pressure to improve this efficiency. And as they continue to do this, public budgets remain constrained. And also technology continue reshaping expectations. What people expect 10 years ago is different from their expectation today. And come to look at it, some countries have moved significantly ahead of others. They have created what we are now calling a digital nation. So digital transformation is no longer simply about technology, increasingly about national competitiveness, public trust, and economic growth. Because when all this is online, it makes it easy for citizens to access government service. So today, I want to explore what makes a nation digitally successful and what leaders can learn from those leading the way. So at this stage, before I continue, what is a digital nation? A digital nation is not just simply a country with advanced technology. We have a lot of countries with advanced technology. But a digital nation is a country that uses technology strategically to improve government services, economic productivity, citizens' experience, public trust, and also national resilience. And they are digital nations because technology has been embedded into how their nation function. Example of that is many governments have websites, and from all these governments that have websites, far fewer have redesigned service around digital first principle. But there's a difference between digitizing paperwork and digitally transforming the government. If all they do is just digitizing paperwork, that is not what we are talking about here. So a digital nation does not simply automate old process. What they do is rethink how services should work in a digital era. One case study is Estonia. Estonia is a small country in Europe, and they are often regarded as world's most digitally advanced nation. Their key innovation is digital identity, online voting, digital healthcare, and the citizen can access most government services online. Another example is Singapore. Singapore is a very small country as well, and in digital government and innovation. One of their strengths is the ability to plan for long term and also integrated services. Of course, they have strong digital infrastructure and their government is leading innovation. So government-led innovation. And another one, which is the third country I'm going to mention, is United Arab Emirates. UAE has aggressively invested in AI strategies. They also have smart government and digital infrastructure, future-focused policymaking. So If we compare all these three countries, although they are of different size, geography, and culture, the UAE is in the Middle East, Estonia is in Europe, and Singapore is in Asia. They all share some similar characteristics, leadership commitments. To be a digital nation, you need to have a leader that is focused on that goal. They all have long-term vision. They are not just planning for the next quarter. They are planning for the next decade. They also have public trust. The public believes that the government is helping and they are supporting a government initiative. The key insight I want to argue is that technology is not the differentiator between these countries. The main thing here is leadership. All this is happening because they have leaders that are willing to do it. If the leadership is not interested, then it won't be a priority for their government and they won't have the budget, they won't have the capacity, they won't have everything they need. So this starts from the government. If the government buy into this, then it becomes possible. Some countries are also trying their own digital transformation, but failing. Despite billions being spent globally, many digital transformations fail to achieve their objectives. They fail because of so many reasons. The first one is that they talk about the technology before the strategy. When you want to participate in digital transformation, the first thing to do is to develop your strategy. If it's a business, you need to have a business strategy. If it is a country, you need to have your national strategy. When you have your strategy, you will now look at how technology fits into that strategy. Organizations and governments sometimes purchases technology before understanding the problem they are trying to solve. So if you purchase technology before you understand the problem, it means that you are buying the wrong medicine. Another thing is that many public institutions operate on decade-old infrastructure that has been around for a very long time. Some of those legacy systems are no longer supported by their manufacturers. So in situations where the government have a lot of decade-old system, modernization becomes very complex and anticipated because sometimes you don't even have people that can manage the system. And when you have people that manage the system, there is very little that you can do with those systems. Government should not wait until their system break down before improving it. And another reason which I'm going to be talking about is organizational resistance. Although technology may change quickly, culture often does not. Resistance to change remains one of the biggest barriers to transformation. So in many government institutions, that is well alive. People question everything that needs to be done. And that resistance to change remains one of the biggest barriers to transformation. So there is a need to move quickly and fast. There is always uncertainty, but we should make responsible choices based on the information that we have. Also, another reason is lack of leadership alignment. Successful transformation requires commitment across all forms of leadership: political leadership, executive leadership, operational leadership. So without this alignment, it will slow down progress. And in the case of Singapore, Estonia, UAE, their leadership is well aligned and into it. If not, then it will become a challenge. My argument is that although digital transformation is often described as a technology challenge, in reality, it is usually a leadership challenge. It's because it's more around the leadership giving the direction, saying that we want to do this and putting enough capability to get it done. So leaders should take responsibility for that. They should embrace it. So let's look at the next generation of digital nation because it's not going to stop here. The next wave of digital transformation is looking big. And I think it's going to be driven by artificial intelligence. And that will be a digital identity ecosystem. There will be automated public services, what we call predictive government, and data-driven policy. If you look at all this, they are already happening. AI is everywhere now. The UK government has an AI strategy. The Scottish government also have their own. And a lot of public services can now be automated. You can, at the website, there are other things you can do. When it comes to predictive government, during COVID, a lot of simulation to predict progress of, and those modeling and simulation did work. So government will increasingly move from reactive service delivery to proactive service delivery. And it is happening as they become a digital nation and making use of artificial intelligence. Let me try to explain what this looks like in practice. Imagine when a government knows what support is needed or which services citizens qualify for, how resources should be allocated. Because currently, a lot of people need to go online to apply for benefit. But what if governments already have their data, and based on their data, government itself knock on their door? Because you are between age 65 and 67, you have this, you have that, you are qualified for these particular services. So in that case, government is not relying on people to make those requests. Government is not just responding, they are not reactive, they are proactive. The key point I'm trying to drive here is that the future of government might not just be being a digital nation. It may be that intelligence which AI is going to introduce, because it is this intelligence that will change the behavior of government from being reactive to being proactive or outcome focused. But as this progress, there are also some concerns that we need to talk about, because greater capability also creates greater responsibility. There's a lot of concerns. There'll be questions around privacy, surveillance, accountability, and human rights. For government to have all this data I'm talking about, it means government will practically have data about everything about everyone's life. For some people, this is going to be intrusive. So that means that it has to proceed with caution. My argument is that the future must balance innovation with public trust. Once people trust the government, then people will support the initiative that is coming from the government. But if people don't trust the government, then that will be challenging. The first action is focus on outcomes and not technology. You should always ask questions like, what problems are we trying to solve? And how does this technology improve citizen or customer experience? The reason for asking this question is that technology should support strategy. It should not replace it. So technology should align with organization strategy. Every leader, every organization should have their strategy. They should know what is their yearly plan, what is their long-term plan. And that should drive the adoption of technology. Some technology can be used for long-term, some might be short-term. So if you have a long-term strategy and you're using a short-term approach, then that becomes a problem. Leaders should be aware of that. And secondly, leaders need to invest in digital capability. There are various means to increase that. And that is because technology projects succeed when people have the skills to use and manage them effectively. You need to have the right people in place, or else we just be wasting money. So when I refer to digital capability, I'm referring to having the right leadership teams, having the right operational staff, the right policymakers, get the right people in place so that they can make the right decision, not just random people. And the third one is to build trust alongside innovation. That is to say, they should be trustworthy by default. They should not just be trustworthy because of compliance. They should be trustworthy by default. That is because digital transformations succeed when citizens and stakeholders trust that system which is being introduced. If they don't trust it, no matter how good it is, they won't adopt it. And in order for people to trust, leaders should ask questions like this. Is this new system transparent? Is it fair? Is it accountable? You should ask all those three questions. Is it ethical? Trust and innovation must grow together. Because if trust and innovation doesn't grow together, you build a system people will not use. And in order to build a system that people embrace, the trust element needs to be valid, because that is what ensures that it's not hiding any risk. So throughout history, nations, they've competed in terms of geography, resources, military strength, even economic power. But now, nations are now competing through digital capability. United States and China. So the question is not whether the government will become more digital, because most governments are already digital. The question I think we should ask is, which nation will successfully use technology to improve the lives of their citizens while preserving trust, freedom, and accountability? And perhaps we can even ask a bigger question. Will most successful nations of the future be defined not by their natural resources, but by the quality of their digital system? Thank you for listening to Future States. If today's discussion challenged how you think about government, technology, and national competitiveness, share this episode with a colleague, policymaker, public sector leader, or anyone interested in the future of society. Next time, we tackle one of the most fascinating and controversial questions of the season, and that is, should AI have rights? As artificial intelligence becomes increasingly capable, we may soon be forced to confront questions that once belonged only in science fiction. And until next time, keep asking not how technology can transform nations, but what kind of future those transformations are creating. Thank you.